What's happening, everybody? Welcome to a Game Moose Plays right here on Game Moose's YouTube channel. I'm your host for this Let's Play, Ryan Turford, and what could possibly go wrong? Today we are playing Bubsy, Claws Encountered of the Third Kind, because why not? I mean, Bubsy's back, you know, so I feel like this is the perfect time, of course, to just jump into more Bubsy. As a co-host Brock McLaughlin, the Brock star himself, has stated many times, Bubsy is just awful, just not a very good platformer. That being said, I have nostalgic memories for Bubsy, and we're gonna get into that right now. So we're just gonna hop into a normal game. Chapter 1, Cheese Wheels of Doom, and of course Bubsy with his catchphrase, "What could possibly go wrong?" So Bubsy himself, just to give you a little backstory, he was supposed to be this big new mascot for Accolade. I don't know why they chose a bobcat, but sure. Essentially, Bubsy is a very loose platform. As you can tell, I'm slipping and sliding all over the place because Bubsy very much is a cartoon cat. Like, more than just his look, he moves like a cartoon character you would sort of imagine. For example, if you hit a crate of banana peels, you will slip on them, and in a very comedic fashion. Just like when Bubsy dies, he will die very horribly, but also in a very comedic fashion. Or even just from us jumping on enemies, or just getting clipped on just the edge of the roof there, and you couldn't barely do anything, so we just died. Because yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's a one-hit kill in this game. So if you actually get hit by pretty much anything, you die in this video game, because just Bubsy does that. So the platforming very loose in this game. So he was supposed to be the big mascot for Accolade, or Accolade. So unfortunately, like he hadn't had his own TV show, his own brand of toys. They got way ahead of the game with that, and as a result, I mean, Bubsy just didn't turn out to be too popular. So, I mean, for the most part, like Accolade did some other smaller stuff after Bubsy, but that was pretty much it for them. Now Accolade is back. I guess someone has purchased the Accolade name, which is why Accolade is actually the publisher, the maker of the new Bubsy game. But I don't actually think it's the same company. I think it is someone else who, similar to the people who work at Atari now, making the new Atari box console, aren't the actual people who created Atari. It's just the person who owns the Atari name now. So we got this cool black costume. The black costume is basically like the star in this game. It just makes Bubsy look so much cooler, though. And look at that, we just flew over the whole level, because that's just what Bubsy was. Bubsy, of course, again, came out around the same time as Sonic the Hedgehog. So he is very much trying to be, not necessarily a clone of Sonic, but he's very inspired by Sonic's edgy attitude, which, of course, tries to shows in the type of jokes that they have, because they make a lot of puns, a lot of cat puns, as well as just references to famous movies. But Bubsy itself is a game I used to play a lot as a kid, more than I am really willing to admit here, because, I mean, I guess I was the perfect age for Bubsy when it came out. It's kind of weird, though, because I think I've mentioned this before a few times on the Game Moose podcast, that as a kid I had Sega Channel, which meant that basically you'd pay a service fee every month through your cable provider, and they'd come up and hook up this basically like almost Netflix-like service for Genesis games. So essentially it would be a cartridge you'd put into your Sega Genesis in the top, just like any other Genesis cartridge, but it would actually connect to a server that would then house many Genesis games, including Bubsy. Bubsy was one of those games, and that's actually how me and my brother Kyle basically played Bubsy for the first time, because it was actually on the Sega Channel, and we did have Sega Channel for the longest time, but games would rotate similar to Netflix, so there'd be new games every month. There would be some games like Sonic that would just always be there, or Echo the Dolphin, like they couldn't get rid of that shit, but Bubsy was one of the ones that rotated. So after the game rotated out of Sega Channel, like we had just started playing it one day and found we actually really liked it, so my mom went out and bought not one, but 2 copies of the original Bubsy. I actually own the Genesis version and the Super Nintendo version, and I don't understand why. But I mean, there are slight differences, obviously, in the music. Some of the graphical things are a little bit noticeable, like the waterfalls, for example, look very similar to the Sonic the Hedgehog waterfall effects. I mean, for the most part, Genesis games had a very, like a different look to them than Super Nintendo games. I mean, if you think that it's weird now where Xbox One games and PS4 games look totally different, you ain't seen nothing yet, because, I mean, classic games, like, in that era, looked so different between, like, you even got different games between the two consoles. Like, the Disney's Aladdin on the Genesis is very different from Disney's Aladdin from the Super Nintendo, which is kind of weird. So here we are at the third level. So similar to Sonic, basically each act has 3 stages. It doesn't really tell you that, but that's just how it is. And of course, at the end of this stage, just like Sonic, we have to fight a boss. So basically, the main antagonists in Bubsy's story are the Yarnies. The Yarnies are like these yarn aliens that come from space, and they're weird. Yeah. Oh look, he's throwing eggs at me. By the way, if I would have gotten hit by any one of those eggs, I would have just immediately died, which would have been sad. Oh. No, no, no! And of course, Bubsy is just like, I gotta be comedical. I'm just gonna hold up my thing and then sing. More like a bridge too short. That's the one time during this Let's Play I'm going to do the Bubsy voice, by the way. You only get one. Everybody gets one, as Spider-Man would put it. The only tricky thing with those water chutes is that you can't use Bubsy's glide ability after you. And see, this is the problem. This is the problem with Bubsy that I just, again, didn't put 2 and 2 together when I was a kid, but as an adult I definitely can, is that in a platforming game, you generally should be able to see what's below you. Or at least there should be some hints or indicators from the development side that you have something you should probably avoid. In Bubsy, it doesn't really give you that. You just assume that there's ground there, but instead there's just water. Because, you know, why not? Like, that was actually one of the big issues with Mario Maker, actually, is that I used to do Let's Plays of Mario Maker every single week, just playing different levels, and one of the issues you'd always run into with a lot of user-made Mario levels is that they wouldn't, like, a lot of the times you would make blind jumps like that, and it would really always result in issues with sort of like people who aren't just running the level over and over again, sort of running into issues here. And of course, I did not use my glide ability there. All right, we're gonna focus. We're gonna focus on beating Bubsy, because again, this game's got issues. It doesn't hold up as well as I would have hoped, but it does hold up better than I would have thought, given all the negative attention Bubsy generally gets. Look at that. Like, how am I supposed to know how far that frickin' jump is? You said it, Bubsy. More like a bridge too short. Alright, here we go. Like, it's just dumb luck, essentially, how far I go when I jump off that platform. So the nice thing about Bubsy is it does allow you to look down, but only if you're on like a solid surface like that. If you're on like a sliding surface like that, you can't look down or anything like that, which can be a big issue. Just like the sliding surfaces, your jump timing is actually different. Like the jump responsiveness is actually different if you're sliding like that or if you're not. Just like how if you're jumping on those springs, if you don't activate your glide, you don't move forward. You just literally jump up in a straight line. Because, basically. Well, I tried. So let's see, so it's right below us. If there's one thing Bubsy is not known for, is precision platforming. Finally, we hit a friggin' checkpoint. That felt like it took forever. So, we can just run along this and create our little teeny tiny bridge. More like a bridge too short. With that, we got extra life. Of course, extra lives in this are just Bubsy numbered t-shirts. Because why not? This game kills me. But yeah, unlike Sonic, like I think like Sonic actually does hold up a little bit better than Bubsy. Again, as you can sort of tell, I'm really struggling with sort of the platforming elements of Bubsy. For example, like that, where he's like, I'm just gonna stop in midair, even if you're not pressing any buttons or if you're pressing forward. So that's always fun. But yeah, Sonic, like, people give Sonic a lot of crap, but if you play Bubsy and then you go back to playing Sonic, Sonic definitely holds up a lot better. The platforming is usually a little bit tighter. I mean, you're always going pretty fast in Sonic, but at least you're sort of able to control where the hell you're going. In Bubsy, you're just sort of all over the place in this game. Look how happy he is just running along that bridge there. But man, the game that killed the Bubsy franchise, though, we gotta talk about it real quick. Bubsy 3D, of course, the 3D craze back in when the N64 and the PlayStation came around. Of course, every 3D mascot needed a 3D game, and of course, Bubsy was no exception to this rule. He needed his own game. His own game was really, really terrible. Like, it's actually one of the worst 3D platformers ever. Because again, a lot of these 2D franchises just didn't really translate over into 3D at all. Like, especially like a game as loose as this, like Bubsy is. Like, it's really hard for that game to sort of transfer over. So that car there, if I jump in the top of that car, it will immediately kill me and make me real sad. So I'm just gonna let it go behind this house. The one thing I will commend Bubsy for is actually having just giant stages that sort of have like a wide gamut of different environmental looks. Like there's a lot of cave areas that you can go to. Just a lot of cool little touches to Bubsy's platforming action here. Again, the level design is kind of dumb in the sense that, again, as of what I talked about, where you have so many blind jumps and some of those issues, or Evil Tom Servo over here. But I can't fault it for at least trying to be adventurous and sort of giving you the option to make it more non-linear if you wanted to actually do it that way. So here we go, we're at the first boss. We got the 2 yarn balls of doom. They're like yarn aliens, because why not? Oh, we almost died there. All we have to do really is just jump on their heads twice. It's not too difficult. And there we go. We beat the 3rd stage. We're just going to keep going until we run out of lives, or we beat the amusement park. The amusement park is the next section, of course, to Bubsy. And of course, now we got our password, McBrolin. McBrolin. Because why not? All right. Whatever blows your hair back. I thought I was done with the Bubsy voice. I really did, but listeners at home, instead, I'm just getting attacked by a giant jumping hot dog. Like, what the hell is even going on in this game? I just don't know. And why do the aliens have, like, afros all of a sudden that attack you? And why does Bubsy have to get attacked by ice cream? It's just like someone was doing some stuff when they were coming up with the idea of this game. It's just so weird, though. Like, Bubsy is just such a weird game. I don't get it. Well, at least luckily, with the black t-shirt, we can sort of, like, reliably run through as much of the level as we can while we have the black t-shirt, since we don't have to worry about the water this time around. And yes, for whatever reason, a boot knocks you back, because boots are evil, apparently. Like, someone just left a boot on a roller coaster, and apparently that's supposed to impede your progress somehow. I do like the star effects, though. I think that, like, the backgrounds on these levels are actually kind of cool. Also, if you press up, Bubsy does this. He's like, raise the roof. Yeah, when you ask Bubsy to raise the roof, he raises it. Of course, many people now don't actually get that because I'm an old man. So, as you can tell, raising the roof is a thing that existed in pop culture for a long time. It doesn't exist now. Thank God. Alright, looks like I'm on my last life. we got hit by some eggs because they're deadly. They're deadly projectiles. If someone throws an egg, if some alien with an afro throws an egg at you, it's bad news bears. Well, that's it for Bubsy in Claws Encountered of the Third Kind. I didn't get very far, but that's okay. I hope you guys had fun watching me play this awful video game. Of course, you can find us over at game-moose.com, where you can find reviews, previews, all that cool stuff. You can also find myself, Brock McLaughlin, and Drew McMillan on the Game Moose podcast every single Sunday. You can check us out on iTunes, Google Play, or just go to game-moose.com. All the podcasts are posted there as well as the RSS feed, so you can use whatever podcast service you'd like. Again, if you like this video, if you want to see more content from us, click that little subscribe button. It really helps us out, especially because we are trying to get to 100 subscribers so we can actually have a custom URL, because it's a pain in the ass without it. But either way, there will be actually more Let's Plays like this as well. This is sort of us getting into the groove of things, especially after E3, because we were really busy during E3. But again, check out some of our content here on the channel and let us know what you think. Anyways, for myself, Ryan Turford, have an awesome day and take care.